Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and let's talk about this, the whole passport thing and the whole Schengen visa shenanigan for like Africans. I mean, at this point, it's just a funny story to tell, and I'm just sharing this to sort of like just shed light on how the situation is on like the other side. It's just funny, so it's crazy funny, and I love sharing this so much because I understand there's some people who are not aware of the other side of things, or maybe they don't have the perspective, or maybe they don't have people to share with them this other side of the story. So just to shed some light and just so other people sort of like know what's happening on our side of the continent, like, let's get into the video. So I'll be sharing this on like a story time kind of basis based on my experience and the experiences of others that either have told me or I've seen them go through certain barriers. And I think I'll first start with the application Olympics. Like, these are literal Olympics because you have not seen paperwork until you're from a third world country trying to get a Schengen visa. I swear I've not seen paperwork before. Like, this is the most amount of paperwork you have to go through in your lifetime, I feel like even school applications or like applying for university and stuff like that, they don't need this much paperwork. But Schengen visa, like, it's the pinnacle of paperwork. You have to submit every paper. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's a lot of paperwork just to prove your worth, to prove that you're, I don't know, I feel like you literally, I don't even think I've ever submitted that many paperwork to my government than the paperwork I had to submit to the embassy to get the visa. Like, it's that bad. And on the application thing, it's funny because it's not, yeah, it's funny because they need different papers from different people, like based on the reason why you're going there, and like based on your reason of travel, they'll give you a different checklist of papers that they need from you. So for me, this last time that I was going to Spain, I was just going for tourism. So they just like, the paperwork was fine on my end, but I know they could request for more papers if I was going for another reason. So what I was told is that when you're going there for tourism, they put more emphasis on like your income, like how much money you have, because that matters so much when it comes to tourism. But also they keep on more emphasis on like your proof of ties. This is where the embarrassment comes in because you have to prove that you're close to your family enough to come back, so you have to show some papers. You have to show like anything that you have in your home country that proves you come back for that thing. So somebody told me, like, if you have kids, family and stuff like that, that would also like help you, because sometimes, let's say if you have a family and then you're living out and then you're leaving your family in your home country, they believe you might come back for them, so that would also like help you easy a bit. But if you're single, the story is different because now the suspicious. It's just you don't have kids, don't have a husband, and you're just traveling by yourself. What if you just stay there? So it's more paperwork to prove that, yes, I'm single, but I'll come back. So you have, like, the proof of ties thing is stingy, but yeah, you have to show a lot of paperwork for that. And I remember during applying, like, so when I went for the interview, there was a girl who was like in the next window from the window that I was staying, and she wanted to travel, I don't know to what country, but I'm sure it was Schengen. And she was saying that she's going to visit a friend who lives there. And guess what she was asked to submit? She was asked to submit proof of their friendship. So they're saying you should show us enough photos that you two are friends. I found that so funny. So they're like, you should search enough papers that you two are friends. So like, print photos, print conversations that goes like way back to prove that you guys have been friends long enough. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, that was crazy. Because so the guy that was tending to her, he was saying like, because you two are not like Bradley related, you have to show other papers that prove that you two are real friends. So there is that. And then I remember I shared that story with like another friend of mine here, and she told me that she also knows of someone who is married. Like, so this girl is from Europe, is married. The girl is married to a Tanzanian here in Tanzania, and they're trying to get a Schengen visa so that they could both visit their in-laws in Europe. And guess what? They did not get the visa despite being married. The guy was still denied the visa to go to Europe. Like, it's that much bureaucracy. Like, it's bureaucratic as crazy. So that's on application. But let me know in the comments down below if there's like any specific questions that you want me to cover, and I'll answer that for you if I have the answer for it. But now I'm just sharing like the story side of things for the fun of it. So apart from the application, there's this thing called the price for just asking. Like how most, I feel like, yeah, this is European and other people with like strong passports, like you just have to pay. At most, it's like 50 euros. 50 euros in some countries, even less than 50 euros. And you get your visa, and that's that. And that's not the case for us. For instance, like on my side of things, like you have to pay at least 200 euros to just ask. And in most cases, this money is non-refundable. And that's just for the visa. That's set aside the papers that you need as supporting documents. And those are also non-refundable, like the flights, the bookings and stuff like that. I know some places, like some bookings you can cancel afterwards, but for instance with the flight, even like the dummy tickets these days, you have to pay for the dummy tickets as well, and that's non-refundable. And like the hotels sometimes, yeah, like sometimes you can get like a booking that's non-refundable, so the hotel is like a bit more flexible. But so for the visa fees, you have to pay at least 90 to 100 euros for the embassy as a visa fee, non-refundable. But you also have to pay for like an interviewing agency, because most embassies on this side, they don't do the visa processing themselves. They sort of like hire third parties to do that for them, and the third parties has their separate fee, which is separate from the visa fee, which is very funny because they should have divided the visa fee for both of them, and I'm wondering why everyone is charging their own fees. So you're literally paying twice that price. The price of the visa, you're paying it twice. So you're paying like 100 euros for the embassy and 100 euros for the agency that is processing those papers for the embassy, So you're paying almost 200 euros just to know what they think about you, and this is non-refundable. Set aside the price that you have to pay for the dummy flight, the price you have to pay for other like supporting documents and stuff like that. It's a mess. And also in some countries, I know like in some countries in Africa, they're required to translate all your documents in one language because we have like different languages and stuff like that. So sometimes they're required to translate your documents to one language. So sometimes you have to pay for a translation fee. Like someone had to pay for that, but I didn't because most of my papers were in English. So it's just fascinating to see, because like the whole process feels like you're begging for people to see your work. They're like, please allow me, please, I'm worth it. So that is just immersive. So yeah, I think it's just funny to share that story. So for my experience with the visa on timing, it can really depend. So they say you should request your visa a maximum of like 6 months before your travel and a minimum of 7 days before your travel. So for me, because I'm a risk taker like that, I applied 2 weeks before my travels, and I really, really wanted to get to travel on the dates that I did travel, because by the time I'm applying for the visa, I had already bought an actual ticket. Like, I know that's very risky. I don't recommend anyone else do that, because my emotions were like this. My nervous system was going up and down like every 5 minutes, because I had already paid for the actual tickets, because I didn't want to buy a last minute ticket, which would be very expensive. So I just bought the actual ticket while I was applying for the visa, which means if my visa was denied, that was a major cost that I would have to start. But yay, risk takers, it's me. Yeah, so I applied like 2 weeks before the departure. And like how when you're submitting your papers, you sort of like say where you're working and stuff like that. So, and like those papers are stamped and stuff like that. So you think they'll believe you based on the papers that you've submitted. But best believe they won't believe you based on the papers you've submitted. They're going back to all the people you've submitted the papers to ask them if they know of you. And I know this because so I submitted where I work and stuff like that. And I had like a stamped paper that proves I work at that place. But they're like, no, we need to prove. So I work for a development organization, and we have like our donors here in Tanzania. So the embassy that I was applying the visa for literally emailed the office, which sort of like funds our projects, to inquire if they know of me. Like, I'm literally in another office, and they're like, please verify this person is legit. So they had to like I mean, like, it was the whole communication, but then I knew someone who was in that loop because I work with the other office. So, like, I know some people from that office, and then they showed me the screenshot. They're like, "Oh, are you traveling? I see the embassy inquiring about you." I was like, "Yes, I'm traveling," but I was just shocked with like the lack of trust. Like, I submitted a stamped paper that I worked for a certain organization, but the embassy was like, "Nah, we don't believe you work there. We have to go ask them by ourselves that you work there." And even the girl at the bank told me that they also come back to verify if, like, it's like a lot of verification that are going through. So to say the trust is like on the negative, like they'll barely trust your papers. They'll like go to check for themselves. And I'm not sure if this is for every case or it's just for certain cases. I mean, like, the whole passport privilege thing, I think when people speak about it online, it sounds a bit like it is funny, because it's funny that someone can just sit here and be like, "Oh, I want to see the world. I have like 300 euros or 400 euros or whatever in my bank account. I can go somewhere cheap and, like, live in hostels and stuff like that." But another person will have to go through like a month of interviews or like paperwork or stuff like that just to get like, "Okay, now you can go." Like, it's crazy. And on top of that, like, you go through all this process for like many months only to get questioned again at the airport. But this is not like majority rule. This is like, it depends on the airport that you're going through and like the people that you're gonna meet. For instance, when I was traveling, like, I had somebody in Turkey, actually. I had like one of the workers there like stop me and started inquiring about my visa. All the time I'm answering his question, I was like, "But this is none of your business. Like, first, this visa is not for this country. I'm just passing through your country. I'm not even like going to see Turkey. And second, like, by the time I'm getting the visa, it means they've already checked my background and everything. Like, they've already done the work. Like, why are you still asking me again?" So that was so annoying. But also, yeah, it's very likely gonna get asked questions along the way. Even my other friend was complaining the same thing. It was like, traveling as a Black person or like traveling as a person from like weak passport countries is very tricky, because in most cases you don't know who's going to ask what question, and in most cases people will always ask you questions even when they don't have to, even when it's not their place. Because, for instance, for my case in Turkey, the guy who was questioning me was the guy who was just supposed to check my ticket. That was his task in that airline, to check my ticket. But he decided to start questioning me like a visa consult or something. I'm like, "Bro, like, know your job." Like, anyway, that's another case. But those are my thoughts. So that's it for this video. And this was more of like just a story time, sharing my experience and the experiences of the others. But if you have like any specific questions that you want to know about, if you want to know like how things work, or if you want to know the perspective on the other side of things, please feel free to write them down in the comment section below, and I'll get to them. Until next time, adios.